Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video I'm going through a special project and so far there are 2 dolls out of this project that I've done and they are ringtailed lemurs. I got a large commission from a zoo in Canada that I will be creating a couple of dolls for, so this is the first part of the commission process, so stay tuned. So I'm starting off with some glass eyes, which I'm painting up myself. These are just glass cabochons, and I have painted the pupils with some black nail polish. It's very sturdy and dries very quickly. And I'm painting around the irises in some paint by Lemur by Jacquard. As ringtail lemurs have orangey sort of eyes, I wanted to create that colour using some glittery sort of eyes to give it a bit more realistic look. So once I painted these up, I'm using 2 different colours, one's an orange and one's a gold, and sort of blending it in together. So once they're dry, I'll then end up casting them into a resin piece, and that way it has a bit more realism to the doll. So you can see what it looks like just after I've cast the eyes in the resin piece. The resin piece is something I've sculpted a long time ago. I don't really do many of these dolls up for grabs. I don't know why. It's just haven't done it for some reason, but it's a very old sculpt of mine. It was, originally did a lemur, was one of my first dolls, very long time ago when I first started. I'm thinking, I don't know yet, to do the tutorial for casting glass eyes, but if I do it, I plan on starting a Patreon soon, probably in a couple of months, so I'd probably put that as a high tiered reward, so yeah, I'm not sure. I'll let you guys know what I do anyway. So what I'm doing is I'm painting in just some black around the eyes and the snout area, because ringtail lemurs have primarily black snouts and black rings around their eyes. So I'm just sort of lining out where I actually want that fur to go. So any fur that I put on top of the resin will have black underneath, so it won't show through as white. And I'm using black chrome acrylic paints, but you can use any paint that you have available. So I'm also using a ball and socket armature for this one. The zoo wanted something a bit more sturdy because people are going to be handling them, so I suggested using this ball and socket armature. It does compromise posability a tiny bit as opposed to the wire, but it is pretty durable and there's no chance of snapping or anything, so yes, they were happy to go with that. So moving on to painting the hands, and I've done sort of basic hands just because if you do small little fingers they do have a chance of snapping, and I know how people can be rough, so I decided to do hands that were sort of bound together, and then I customized one of these hands to have a thicker thumb because the lemurs have strange thumbs, so if you don't know what they look like, Google it and you'll be impressed with their little thumbs. Alright, so this is the fur that I'm going to be using. This fur is very interesting. I chose it because it resembled a lemur's fur very closely. It's really soft. It's the softest fur I've ever come across, and it's even softer than that ocelot fur that I used. It's just a really nice fur. But it's very difficult to work with. It's woven, so it's not stuck on, it's actually woven into the backing, and it doesn't cut, nothing cuts it, it just slips. Nothing cuts it, and I just had a really hard time trimming this fur and actually removing it from the backing and doing everything, and you can see I had to go at cutting it with a knife, and that was just worse, and it was sort of fraying the backing because it's woven, so I opted to just continue with the small scissors. But yeah, really interesting. I haven't come across fur like this before. And this will be the underbelly. It's the same sort of fur. It's a little thicker than the grey and behaves a little differently than the grey as well. So the grey fur was particularly hard to cut, and the white fur was a little bit easier. Which is really strange. I don't know why. It's the same fur. Very strange. I don't know if I would ever work with this fur again just because it is so difficult, but it is really soft, so it's kind of much of a muchness. I still have 4 more lemurs to do, so I still have to do 4 more dolls, different types of lemurs, so you have to stay tuned to see what they are. But yeah, unfortunately I have to use this fur 4 more times, but that's not a big deal anyway. I'll find my way around it. So moving on to the tail, and the tail of a ringtailed lemur are very unique. They are black and white striped, so I have some of that same black fur, which I measured out the size of the rectangles for the tails, and then I individually cut and sewed them together to make the black and white rings around the lemur's tail, which took us such a long time, but it turned out really well, so I'm pretty happy with the way it all went. So for some reason the black fur is slightly shorter than the white fur, but that's not a big deal either. I just thought that it would be the same length. It's really strange fur, it's just so different from one another, and just the way it behaves and the way it behaves with tools and stuff as well. So here we have the tail all sewn up together, just from each piece is sewn together, and then I'll go ahead and sew the tail closed, so I don't have to do it by hand. I actually did try to do it by hand, but it wasn't really holding all that well for some reason. It just wasn't turning out, so I ended up doing it on the machine. And then I also sewed the body on the machine as well, rather than hand sewing, as this fur is quite slippery as well. I definitely, if you ever have this fur, definitely use the machine, because hand sewing for some reason, it's really difficult for the thread to keep tight, and it ends up just slipping just because the fur is so slippery. But anyway, you can see the back end is open, so I can go ahead and flip it the right way around, and here's what we have so far. So like I said in a lot of my other videos, that you will have to hand sew things, there's no way around it. So I have the arms and the back end open, so I will need to sew that together, and I'll also need to sew that tail end on as well. And I'm actually really happy that I did find this fur, because it's just so similar to lemur's fur, just the way it sits and the way it like disperses on the coat is just so similar. So I'm really glad I found this fur too. Right, so I also went ahead and sewed up the tail as well. So this is what it looks like before I have turned everything the right way around. And then I can go ahead and sew everything up now once I've done the armature. So I have a little video on the different types of armatures that I use. I'll try and remember to link it below, but as this is a ball and socket, it just clicks in place, so it's really easy. I do plan to do a comparison on ball and socket and wire armatures, just the posability and stuff, so I hope to do that soon, but I'm not too sure when I can. I'm just so busy right now. And also I'm using a lattice stitch to sew up this the open ends, and then gluing the fur piece to the resin piece with some tacky fabric glue. So after all of that, I go ahead and attach some fur to the face and the arms, and the furring was just an absolute task for this particular doll because of the fur as well. But we did it, and we got to the end, and it turned out fantastic, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. So if you guys are interested in any lemurs, let me know in the comments down below as well. And I might try and get one in my Etsy shop soon, but it probably won't be for a few months still anyway. And I think that's it for me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. You can also check me out on Instagram and Facebook at Creatures of Nat, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!